welcome to another Internet Business Podcast on the Business Lifestyle Podcast channel with Tyrone Shum here. Today I've got a special guest and his name is David Jenyns and he's from Melbourne. So, hi David, I just wanted to welcome you on board today. David's going to be sharing a little bit more about what he does, and I actually stumbled across David through Facebook. Isn't that right, David?
Yeah, we started up a little bit of a dialogue through there, and we thought we'd connect.
Yeah, so it's a real honour to be able to have you on the call today, and I wanted to share with my audience today what you currently do and how you also live the kind of business lifestyle that a lot of entrepreneurs out there on the internet do. So maybe just give a little background for the people who don't know who you are, what you do and where you live, and how long you've been in this game for too.
Yeah, so I'm based down here in Melbourne, Australia, and I've been marketing online, I'd say, for the better part of 10 or 11 years now. First got interested in, it started way back when I first got interested in the stock market. A friend of mine at school was telling me how much money he was making, and just like a problem gambler, they only tell you about their wins. They don't tell you when they're losing money.
No way.
And I thought, wow, this is too good to be true. And when I finished school, I decided rather than going to university against the better advice of my friends and family, they said, you should be going to university. You've got what it takes to go really far. And I thought, no, I'm going to take out a $5,000 loan and go do a weekend share trading course to see if I can become a super trader on, over the course of a weekend. But I very quickly realized that it takes a little bit more than that to get the stock market down and mastered. For one, you need to have a little bit of a trading float, some capital behind you. Unless you've got any money, you can't really trade what it is that you don't have. So once that happened, I realized, okay, well, I need to build up a little bit of extra cash. And being interested in the stock market, identified a little bit of a niche, I suppose. There was a charting package that a whole lot of people were using that they didn't fully understand how to use this charting package. It was called Metastock, and the particular trading community or group that I was a part of, a lot of them really just didn't know how to use it. So sort of joined up with another guy and we created a home study course for it. And this is, that would have been back in about 2001. And we wrote this course, and it did really well, and it did well within our community. But we realised you can have the perfect product, but unless people know it exists, it's not really worth anything. So we had this product sold well in our immediate group, but beyond that, we needed to get the word out, and that's when I got interested in a lot of old school direct mail, and I got interested in some of the legends. Dan Kennedy, yep. Jay Abraham, some people here in Australia, Peter Sun, Mal Emery, those type of guys, and pretty much went down the path of learning how to write long-form sales copy and copy that converts. And then that really, I suppose, just evolved over online. I then thought I saw the internet as an opportunity to get that message out. So we registered a domain name, and I first then got introduced online to a guy called Ken Evoy, who's the guy behind SiteSell. And that particular program, it was all about generating fantastic content and value that pre-sells your product. So we put up a lot of material out there, and that actually ends up being good for SEO reasons as well. But he calls it the art of the pre-sell.
Okay.
And took all of that and started marketing the products online, and then that's how I kind of evolved into the internet marketing. And I think when I first got interested in internet marketing, especially in the stock market niche, we were very much on the cutting edge when we were coming out. Like, we were doing video, about 4 years ago now, online for promoting different products and services that we offered. Also, the way that we were bringing the direct mail and long-form sales copy that was converting really well back then, when we brought that online in our stock market niche, we were doing extremely well. We picked a very tight niche and quickly positioned ourselves as the experts. And then from there, we just started to build a product line. We've got built up quite a large database of clients, and just continued to run seminars and workshops, record them, turn them into info products. So that business sort of bubbled along on the side, and then being a little bit entrepreneurial, different things popped up along the way. I think another big sort of one of my big claim to fame, I suppose, was copycatting what a gentleman called Paul Hartunian did. He sold the Brooklyn Bridge in the US, and he wrote a press release and got some magnificent media coverage. I did something similar here in Melbourne, Australia, where they were doing some renovations on the MCG, and Australia is known to be extremely sporting, like we're a sporting nation.
Exactly.
So they were doing the renovations, and I pretty much just copycatted his idea, got a lot of the discarded carpet and wood, and ran a press release saying, Melbourne man sells the MCG for $24.95. Cut a long story short, got a lot of media coverage, and with all the skills that I picked up with the direct mail and online, funneled a lot of that traffic online to a website that we put up, and then obviously converted and sold some things. But there's been other bits and pieces we've worked on, got a rock and roll clothing music store, selling AC/DC t-shirts and Metallica wristbands and that type of thing. So very much a serial entrepreneur. We tried to set that store up as a franchise, so we've got all the franchise documentation done, and we actually a little while ago opened our first franchise in Melbourne CBD down here. And I suppose all of this has, just been bubbling along, and just recently, I suppose, because we've had some really good success online, especially in the stock market niche, which I'd say is a very hyper-competitive niche. Any of those make money niches are very competitive. We started to find a lot of people were asking how it was that we were doing what it was that we were doing. Because a big passion of mine, I love the stock market, but I also love marketing. I find it very creative, and it's a great outlet for me. And so when we had people coming to us, it kind of evolved, and it kind of became obvious with enough people asking. We thought, hey, why don't we set up a search engine optimization company? And that's just recently, at the start of this year, we launched Melbourne SEO Services, where we're taking what we were applying in the hyper-competitive niches and then applying it to localized local business, doing things like, Dentist Melbourne and ISO Consulting Melbourne, these types of phrases and terms that we can very quickly dominate, get very quick results for our clients, and getting some fantastic feedback for that as well. So really shifting my focus a little bit from the stock market stuff. I still very much run the stock market business, and that's how I generate a lot of my primary income. We've got a good following of clients, and introducing different products to them, doing product launches and that type of thing. But that's me in a nutshell.